What's going on, guys? I'm Mike Pouncey, former center for the Miami Dolphins. I'm here with Coach Fred and my brother Marquise Pouncey, former center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let you guys know that Twin P is official liquor, the Common Man Podcast. Bottoms up, Twin P, best. Gotta drink some more.
What's up? We are back live once again. The Common Man Drive at 5 as we took a short vacation last week trying to get ourselves rejuvenated and ready to rock, which I suggest everybody do at some point in time. And I think we're going to talk about that today with the guest that we have, a returning guest that we have that will come in and talk to us about a lot of different things. But before we bring him on, you know how we do it. Big shout out to our A1 sponsor, Twin P Whiskey. Like to thank those guys as they are the official, the official whiskey of the Common Man. And before we start every show, you know what we do? We toast to a great show, great conversations. Here we go. Yeah. And shout out to Nut Huggers Apparel. Say that 10 times. Go check them out on IG. Nut Huggers Apparel on IG. Check them out. Tell them you heard it from Coach Fred right here on the Common Man Podcast. The Drive at 5. But without any further ado, while we allow a few other people to get in here, we are going to bring in our guy, Dr. Fred Kency, my Kappa Phi Theta. Yeah. My brother, what's happening? Can you hear me, Doc? Doc, are you muted or is that me? Can you hear me? He's on stage. On stage. We on stage, Doc. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I got you now, Doc. I thought that was me. I was starting to panic. You went back out. I don't know what you did. Go back to what you did the first time, that last time, Doc. Doc, worse than this thing that I am with this technology.
What it sound like now?
That's what it is.
All right, we got sound. We perfect. How things going?
Yes, sir. Again, going great, Doc, man. How was your day today?
Man, it's been busy. So it's always ripping and running, as always. But it's a blessing to be here, so I have no complaints.
Definitely, man. And that's one of those things the old people tell you to take and run with when you're able to put your feet on the floor in the morning and continue through, right?
Facts, big facts.
That's what they tell us. And you know, again, Doc, man, as we kind of middle in just a little bit as we get a couple people to coming into the room on both on all the platforms. One of the things I wanted to get you back on as we talked last week is June is Men's Health Month, and I've seen little to no promotion talking about Men's Health Month. You know, we have all kind of days. Like I said before, we have potato chip day, we have hamburger day, National French Fry Day, all those days. But, you know, again, one of those deals of where haven't seen a lot. Maybe you have in the world of being a doctor. Maybe you have seen a lot of promotion, but I haven't seen a lot of promotion for that, which is why I want to bring you back and actually kind of talk to not only my male guys, listeners, but also the females that are attached to the males to kind of help us promote this movement that we're trying to create and get going. So, have you seen a lot of promotion for the Men's Health Month?
So just so happened, like you were saying, I'm in circles where I get the emails and I get the social media kind of uh, tags and different things like that. So I do see a lot of it, from the different Divine Nine organizations, from different hospital organizations, from different just organizations, NAACP, you name it. I've probably seen at least some type of advertisement, some type of solicitation for Men's Health Month. Was it as prominent for as other months? I would probably say not. But I have seen at least, I think, something from most people. So, which is, better than nothing from all.
I got it. So there's no national marketing tour. There's no we're gonna buy up all the billboards in the city for National Men's Health Month, but there is some type of talk about it. So
There's some kind
that
of
makes me
discussion.
feel better. Uh, some kind of discussion, and I wanted to bring more to that discussion as I'm trying to get my cue card, my questions together. Um, Doc, as you know what we do here on the channel, you've come by, you've been a guest, and thank you before, thanking you again now. But when we're talking about men's health and prevention and catching things on the early side of this, you know what? Let's go back. In case someone wasn't here the first time you came in, I'm gonna let you give your intro and who you are, Doc. Go ahead. Show it. The floor is yours.
Easy breezy. So, Fred Kency, I'm a board certified emergency medicine physician by trade. I have a couple of different things I do within medicine that are not in the emergency room. I do medical marijuana certifications through a clinic here in Ridgeland. Born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. I went to Alcorn State University, graduated in 2007 with a bachelor's in biology. Went to medical school at the University of South Alabama. Had an amazing time in Mobile for 4 years. The United States Navy paid for medical school. So I spent 4 years in the United States Navy, everywhere from San Diego to Biloxi to Africa. Was able to come home after my 4 years in the military and do residency at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. So spent 3 years at that institution, learned a lot, grew a lot between leadership in the military and residency, became a whole different person, I believe, honestly. And since then, I've been working as a community doc slash college, not college, university academics type of emergency medicine physician for the past, I guess, 7 years now. Time flies. You look back and like, whoo, what happened all those years? So now 7 years in, 8 years almost, doing what God put me here to do, educate, take care of sick people, and then mentor those that are coming behind me.
Doc, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you. Was my sound out?
Okay, I'm trying to see if it's a little choppy. I'm trying to see if it's me or on your end, but I got you now, loud and clear. Um, Navy, paid for medical school, jump right out, got it rolling. ER, and you've got the clinic that you deal with, and we'll take it in steps and kind of go in stages to it. As far as what are some things that you recommend every guy, no matter the age, and we'll talk to the grown people here, that they should do early on when we're talking about men's healthcare?
So you mean like what men should do, or I tell people all the time, I didn't have a primary care doctor, even though I'm a physician, and I felt like I know most things that I need to do or take care of. I didn't have a primary care doctor until I was, out of the military, probably out of residency. So I was probably in my late 30s by the time I decided, I need a primary care doctor. And some of that was my military time, created some injuries that I now have some VA connected things for, but I feel like I needed a primary care doctor, and I feel like I'm a huge proponent that everybody needs one, whether you're just going once a year to get your, to make sure you don't have diabetes, to make sure that your cholesterol isn't too high, or whether you're going, once every month because you have, high blood pressure, or because you have diabetes, or because you have some chronic disease conditions that actually need your attention. So I'm a huge proponent. That's my biggest thing to everybody: get you a primary care doc. That is the most important thing I can tell anybody. That if you don't have a primary care doctor, you're already, 10 steps behind being a healthy individual wanting to be on this earth more than 50 years. So that's huge. Having a primary care doctor actually is one of the things that I think can truly save my life. Um, I went in for some really basic neck pain that I was having. Was having a little bit of hand numbness to go along with it. So my primary care doctor ordered me a MRI of my neck, and through that MRI of my neck, which had nothing to do with my neck pain, they found a mass in my thyroid that I wound up having to get removed, and now I have to take medication to replace that hormone that medication that organ would normally produce for me. But had I not had a primary care doctor that said, "Well, let's get this MRI to make sure that nothing bad is inside of your spine," then I would have never known that mass was growing in my thyroid, and who knows what could have happened, 2, 3, 4 years down the road had I not had that preventive care type, situation, had that taken care of. So that's kind of one of my biggest thing is you got to have a primary care doctor. I mean, because, you think that what's under the hood is good just because when you crank it up and it runs every day. But, you open that hood and you're going to see oil all over the place. You're going to see some spark plug wires. They've been a little old. That air filter got a little dust on it. I mean, there's a lot of things on that hood that it may seem like it's okay because that it cranks up on the first crank every morning. But that don't mean that everything under the hood is running like it's supposed to. And if you don't have somebody doing some regular maintenance on that thing, you're gonna find out the hard way. When it cut off on the side of the road and it's 90 degrees outside. That ain't when you want to find out that that spark plug was going bad. You want that preventive maintenance to happen before the bad stuff happens. So
again, like I said, on the side of the interstate, especially if we running these 1980 models, 1990 models, we want to keep
exactly.
regular maintenance. So
Exactly.
as you said, that primary doctor, a physician, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a MD doctor. I don't. It can be a nurse practitioner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in the state of Mississippi, we are very short on physicians, and so our physician extenders are great resources for primary care, whether it be a PA, physician assistant, physician associate, however they call themselves, or it be a nurse practitioner. Get you somebody that you're seeing at least once a year. That's making sure that the maintenance under the hood is doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, that's the point I can't stress more than anything.
At least once a year.
At least once a year. At least.
And within your field, Doc, as we're talking, and again, as much as you can speak on it, as much as I talked to several people, older people that are retiring or at the point of about to retire, and the insurance factor always comes up. What are some things that you've seen that those who do not have insurance, or someone may be working a job? I know a lot of young guys that work with the landscaping companies and things like that, right? How can they look into getting insurance to be able to do that at least once a year? Because that's always the big thing. I don't have insurance. What are some suggestions from the doctor of a desk with the insurance type situation?
In Mississippi, that's a huge issue. Huge issue. We have Medicaid for those who are below a certain poverty line. That's a huge thing. Most of the large hospital systems have some type of fee assistance program for patients who don't have health insurance but are above the threshold of poverty where they don't qualify for Medicaid. Um, and then there's a lot of centers out here that actually provide primary health care for patients that don't have health insurance at all, that don't have Medicaid or health insurance. So here in Jackson, we have the Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center. We have the Jackson that is funded by the city state. It provides physicians there, provides primary care there. They do dentistry work there. They do a lot of things in the community that help a lot of people that don't have insurance or have who are underinsured. That's another big thing. So having insurance is one thing. Being properly insured is completely other. The other options are what are called DPCs. So a DPC is a kind of clinic where it's amazing for folks that don't have insurance but are above the poverty threshold. Um, a lot of people who are self employed. So next door to my clinic is a DPC clinic. It's called Direct Primary Care. That means that you pay a monthly amount. So instead of paying an insurance premium every month, you pay a monthly amount, and sometimes it can be as low as $85 a month. And when you need to go to the clinic, you just go. There's no deductibles, there's no extra payments for a clinic visit. I need to go see the doctor today. I call them, they put you on the schedule, you show up within most of the time, but you can get in within 48 hours because their panels are very small. So you don't have, 4,000 people coming to this clinic. That panel usually is about 200 to 250 people per doctor. So, the chances of you not being able to get in within 48 hours are pretty low. A lot of these DPC clinics, say that one more time.
No copay associated with that as well, right?
No, most of them have no copay associated with their clinic visit. So your monthly fee for your clinic is what you pay. That's all comes out of your pocket for seeing a physician. A lot of these places will have really good connections to radiological centers. So let's say if you needed an x-ray of your shoulder, you needed a chest x-ray for work because of some type of occupational job you do that requires a chest x-ray every once in a while. If you get a bad knee issue, you need an MRI, they'll have these deals with these independent radiological locations where you can actually get in and get an MRI of your knee for like $300. My wife got an MRI of her knee last year because she was having some significant pain that wasn't getting better with physical therapy. I can tell you that MRI, even after insurance paid, was well over $500. The original bill, I can't even remember what it was, but it was somewhere in the thousands. And we still wound up paying over $500 out of our pocket for that bill. And so I tell people all the time, the DPCs, because they don't deal with insurance companies, they don't deal with the red tape, they don't deal with the pre-authorizations, they don't deal with all of the other minutiae, is what I call it, that comes along with insurance companies and different things like that. They can go directly to the radiological facility and say, hey, I'm going to give you this much money for this exam, take it or leave it. And most of the time, these places will take it, and that's all you pay. And so you wind up paying, as a non-insured person, you wind up paying less money than someone who is insured. It's a crazy game to how these things are played. Another thing is your medications. For the most basic diagnoses like diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, a lot of these medications are very old. We do have some newer medications that are very expensive, but the majority of things that the average person needs to control their blood pressure, to control their high cholesterol, to control their diabetes are very old medications. There's not any new technology that goes along to making these medications, these pills. So a lot of these companies, these DPC clinics, will actually have in-house pharmacies where they'll actually have, they'll be able to buy these medications at wholesale and then able to sell it to their patients for almost a nominal markup, essentially kind of like what Costco does. Costco, everything in their store is only marked up 8% more than what they paid for. That's why Costco has become a very dominant person in the industry they're in, because they're not trying to make $1 billion, though they do make $1 billion because of expansion. that wasn't their goal when they set out. The goal was just to bring products to the market and sell them for a price that gave people the ability to buy it at a reasonable cost without a ridiculous markup. And because they've been able to do such a good job at it, they create a much bigger footprint than they had at one time, and now they dominate the market because you sell something for a fair price, and you'll get more people to come and buy that product. And that's the same way it is with these DPC companies. They're popping up all over the place. A lot of folks are coming out of residencies now and know that the insurance companies they're just not good for people. They're not good for medicine. They're not good for business, and that they can do it better just by doing it themselves.
So, and side note, we got to get them because you just gave them a whole bunch of free publicity. They got to come on and tap in and become a sponsor of the show and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we got to get them. That's a whole nother show, whole nother conversation between me and you. But the medication side of it, because that is a huge issue as well. Because and maybe you can help me break this down as well. That little lady with the same last name as me is in the field as well as a nurse, right? And when you call in and they ask you if you want the name brand or the generic, what is the difference between that, Doc? Because I grew up and my granddad was notorious for saying that cornflake box that's black and white that say cornflakes is the same cornflakes that's in the Tony Tiger box. It's just they paid less to put it in that box. So how is it broke down when we're talking about medication, when we're talking about name brand versus generic?
Gotcha. So, whenever a company brings a medication to market, it is important that they create a product that is safe, right? So they spend tons of money in R&D, research and development, to create a product. That product comes to market, and it comes to market and it stays out in the market for 7-10 years. Just depends on what kind of license that company had and how long they get exclusivity to it. That's a brand name product. Using the basic, we'll say like Viagra, right? So Viagra came out, it was limited to the name Viagra. Nobody else could make that product. It was theirs. And so it stayed as just their product for 8-10 years. After a while, the brand exclusivity essentially expires. And now anyone can have that formula, right? The formula to the active ingredient portion of that medication. Okay, so the active ingredient is sildenafil for Viagra. So anybody can take that formula that they had, in which a chemist takes that medication, puts it into a machine, can get it literally broken down, chemically exactly the components that made that medication what it is. And now once you have that generic, once you have brand exclusivity is gone, you can go to the generics now. So 10 years later, we can start making generic versions of those medications. It is the exact same active ingredient that's in the brand named product. The only difference is the brand named product had to go through more stringent FDA research and development portions to bring that product to market. But once it comes to market, it's shown that it's a safe product. It's been exclusively branded under that single name for 7, 10, 5 years, depending on what that deal was. Now you have this active ingredient that is very safe. So by the time a product becomes generic, it is one of the safest products that you can have because it's already gone through all the scrutiny of active ingredient side effects, risk profiles, interactions with other medications. All that stuff is gone. What does change is that the inactive portions of what's in those medications. So though the active ingredient has to be identical to that brand name, because once it becomes, generic, you can use it. It's that active ingredient. That active ingredient is readily available. The inactive ingredients, they can vary, right? And so let's say they used a salt base in one medication. Well, they may use an acid base in another medication. And so for some people, that changes how effective the medication is. It's rare, but it does happen to some people. And so one of the biggest ones that we see, or one of the ones that I've noticed or patients notice, is the medication for thyroid replacement. Um, there are some patients who just don't do well with the generic versions of Synthroid, which is the medication that replaces your thyroid hormone, and they actually
Okay.
need that branded, true brand medication to give them the full effect or the full complement of fixing their problem. Well, that's not everybody. That's just some patients. We don't know the reason why that some patients do well with generics and some of them it just won't work for them. We don't know, or at least if somebody knows, it's not me. But we don't know why. And there's a couple of other medications kind of like that too. Some patients just don't do well with the generics. But for 90%, 95% of the medications out there, the generics work fine. They're much cheaper because the company that's producing this medication didn't have to spend millions of dollars in research and development. So they're not trying to pay back anything. They're not trying to recoup losses. They're just making a product, bringing it to market, selling that product. And they're trying to undercut someone else selling the same product. So you're usually going to get your best price with your generic medications because they're competing against four other companies that are making the same generic medication with this same known safe active ingredient. But they're trying to do it, they're trying to get Kroger to buy their product instead of, some other store is going to buy somebody else's. So I'm all about generics. Give me generic every day.
Okay. And it's Apple Jacks versus Apple Wheels. It's
True.
Frosted Flakes versus Frosted Bear. It's just, hey, you better come on now. Hey, you never had kind of struggles, man. Don't
West
act like you
Jackson.
have.
Hey, West Jackson.
Man.
Real deal. I tell you, real deal.
Hey, peanut butter versus peanut hunter. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never had them struggles, man. I can go on and
all that.
Yeah.
I tell people it's the same thing. It's kind of. I think I liken it to the best kind of description is like a Lexus to a Toyota. If you can pull that same motor out of a Lexus and put it right into a Toyota, you can pull that same motor out of a Cadillac and put it right into a GM, any other GM vehicle. The Lexus is more expensive. The Cadillac is more expensive, but that GM, Malibu is going to get you from point A to point B. It's the same LS motor that's in that Cadillac. So the active ingredient.
Ooh, they don't like you talking.
That 3.8 is the exact same thing that's in that Cadillac. It's just the Cadillac costs a little bit more. So.
Not a little bit more, a lot bit more, but I get it.
A lot bit more. Mm-hmm. Hey, I saw somebody posted in the chat that the TRICARE and VA Health majority of meds are generic, and that's because of a cost-effective issue, right? So you want to be able to buy the most amount of medication for the most amount of people at the best cost, and your cost is always going to be most effective with generics. There are some medications that are not generic yet, There's a couple medications for weight loss. There's a couple medications for blood pressure, a couple medications for diabetes, but we don't have generics for those. So what most places are going to do, if they're going to pay for a brand name, they're going to make the doctor or the patient prove that they have tried the generics and the generics did not work effectively. So if you can, that's what every one of those, I want to be on the name brand medication. Well, we can do that, but now I have to say that you have tried the non-name brand and they were not effective. That's what induces the health insurance industry to say, okay, well, we'll pay for him or her the actual name branded medication. So it's a process.
And we can liken that to when you go into CVS, and CVS has a how do you want to put it? CVS would have their own brand of alcohol, and the main company that has rubbing alcohol has theirs, but the CVS deal is a lot cheaper, and that's what we liken that to, correct?
Exactly. So that's 70% isopropyl alcohol that you see, white or green, It's the exact same active ingredient that you're going to see in that branded named isopropyl alcohol 70%. It's the exact same active ingredient. So choosing that, name brand bottle, the inactive portions may be cleaner because they have spent a little bit more money on marketing. They have more money to make their inactive ingredients more tolerable, but the active ingredient, the portion that actually does the work, is identical.
What you really need is the same.
Exactly.
I get it.
Save that money.
If you can get that out rubbing alcohol from CVS that costs $3 as compared to $6 from the name brand, go ahead and get the CVS because it's still gonna burn
all day, every day. And just like you're talking about the alcohol, you got the whiskey in the back. If people see me at tailgates, you'll never see me with no name branded vodka. Like that thing come out of Costco. You can get that bottle about that big for like $20.
Doc, you're with me to the end, Doc, because if you go get that vodka in that bottle that you can knock off a table and it still bounces and it don't break. Doc, I don't know about that.
Hey, it's gonna be a long night.
Me and you gonna have a private conversation. You're gonna have to really show me the difference in that. Hey, you're gonna have to show me the difference in that plastic bottle or that glass bottle. And I ain't gotta go way upscale, but that's at the bottom that I have to bend down. I'm probably gonna leave that one down there and I'm gonna come up to the one waist high. That's my price range. But hey, we can have a whole nother show on the morning after.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
Hey, so as we continue through the conversation, man, of health, Doc. Again, this month is Men's Health Month, and if you haven't went out, guys, ladies, if your guys haven't went out and got a checkup, we're at the halfway point of this calendar year. We're basically at the halfway point of the calendar year. Guys, go get a checkup. I know my insurance offers this thing called a Healthy You that I've got to utilize by July, whatever it is, where they do blood work, they take your vitals, all that stuff, they send it off. Ladies, make sure those guys go get that done because, as Doc just said, speaking from his own experience, the worst thing that could happen is that you have a pain in your shoulder and you dismiss it as I'm getting older, I did something at work, and it just continues to linger. And this is in June, and then by the time you get to December, and it ain't dull and it ain't going away, and you go, and then it's something that could have been caught a long time ago, but you didn't want to go. So the fear of that, we got to get over that, guys, especially guys that live in our community. We got to get over the fear of going to the doctor. Doc, I know this is not your expertise, but if you could kind of go down this line as well as we move the interview forward. I didn't know until here recently that the age for colonoscopies for all guys that look like me and you, guys that look like my guy Zach, the age has changed, right? It's moved up. Now they're saying you got to go get this at a younger age. Can you speak to the importance of that as much as you possibly can with your doctor title?
Say that last part kind of broke up. The chain.
The age has changed for guys to go get checked with colonoscopies.
Correct.
If you could speak to the importance of that, not just for our community, but all guys, but especially our community, that would be huge for the people that are listening and people that will come back and listen to this.
Definitely for colon cancer, which is what you mean with those checks, as well as prostate information. There is no more important check that you can do. That is, if and breast cancer too, that's on the women. But one of those things, if you catch it early, it is one of the most treatable issues that you can have. for both breast cancer and colon cancer. If caught early enough, surgery alone is curative. Just remove the mass and your cancer is cured for some people. Okay. If you don't, even if you don't catch it super early, if you catch it early-esque, is what I call it, you take away the mass, you do a little chemotherapy, and you're completely cleared of the cancer. Okay. If you don't have anybody looking, if you have this change in your bowel habits, you go from having 2 bowel movements a day to once every 3 days, and you just let it go. You don't think about it. You don't worry about it. You don't let anybody talk about it. Then you start losing weight. You lose 10 pounds unintentionally. You lose 15 pounds unintentionally. And then, you start seeing blood in your stool. If you just keep putting these things off, if you come to my clinic, you come to, your primary care doctor's clinic, and, they ask you these basic questions around colon history, colon health. They're going to say, hey, how are your bowel movements? Oh, I have a little bit of constipation. Oh, okay. They're going to be checking your weight every year. Do you know you've lost like 17 pounds since the last time I saw you? Like, are you trying to lose that weight? No. Well, then somebody's going to start looking into that. When you didn't think that's an issue, but for a physician, unintended weight loss is one of our biggest trigger of something's wrong. Like, you should not just lose weight. Once you get to, get into your 30s and 40s, you should not just be randomly losing weight unless you're intentionally trying to do so. Your body is, by that time, it's pretty well known what your body weight is going to be. Unless you intentionally try to lose weight, now you may gain some pounds. you may put on a fresh 15. It ain't a freshman 15, but a fresh 15. But you should not be losing weight unintentionally. And so that's one of our biggest trigger words as physicians, is that when we see someone lose weight, it is something that we start to delve a little bit deeper into. And so right now, the recommendations are at the age of 45, you start getting colonoscopies, African-American males. But you start, unless you have a first-degree relative that had colon cancer, and then you'll start the year before they were diagnosed if it's before that. And so I don't have any first-degree relatives with colon cancer, but I do have some men in my family that have had colon cancer and some men that have had prostate cancer. Luckily, those diagnoses were made much later in life, in their 60s. But I am very hyper vigilant about these things, because I know the earlier that these things are diagnosed, the more likely I am to beat them. And so I'm not a person who's going to wait 6 months, a year to say, oh, I had a little blood in my stool. It's probably a hemorrhoid. It'll go away on its own. No. Prove it was a hemorrhoid. Hey, I'm not taking no chances, because I don't want to be that person that overlooked something that could have been fixable. And now my quality of life, my life expectancy has dropped tremendously because I didn't go and make a 15-minute doctor visit. And I see it every single day.
Right. And that's tough. And it's not my granddad's test anymore. It's much friendlier, and it's a lot less scarier than the stories we've heard growing up, to go get that done. You know what I mean? So it's
so the good thing about prostate checks is that we don't do fingers in the butts anymore. I mean, that's one of the biggest fears that people always talk about. Oh,
the biggest misconception about that test till this day. I'm glad you touched on it.
We don't do that anymore. So now the way prostates are checked is that it's about consistency. It's about coming every single year and getting that lab. It's a lab test. It's a blood test. Just getting it drawn. And so what you want to see is a number that stays flat. Okay. What that number is, we have what's considered high. We have what's considered low. But the important thing is flat. You want that number to stay. If your number is 1, you want that number to stay right around 1 for 30 years. From the age of 40 to the age of 70. You just want to ride that 1 for 30 years. What is abnormal is when you get that 1 that jumps to 5, that jumps to 40. That's when we say, hey, something ain't right.
Right.
And that's when we go and delve a little bit deeper to make sure that you don't have prostate cancer. There's no fingers in the behinds anymore. That's gone. That system is out the door, because when you do a digital rectal exam, which is that what we described, that is done. It only touches the back side of the prostate. Well, the prostate has 4 sides, 6 sides, I guess, if you look at it like a cube. And so if you're only touching one side to say whether you feel a lump or a bump, and some people aren't even really that good at doing the actual exam to even say whether or not they feel a lump or a bump, unless that prostate is massive, then you're missing the other 5 sides of the prostate, the bottom, the top, the left, right, and the front. And so that exam doesn't really give us a lot of information anymore. So the blood test is kind of what we use as our mechanism for detecting prostate cancer now. And then we know that once you get to a certain age, you don't have to get prostate checks anymore. So if you don't have prostate cancer by the age of 80, meaning that your PSA has stayed flat by the age of 80, you don't have to worry about getting it checked anymore. And the reason is because the idea is that if you turn 80 and don't have prostate cancer that day, the likelihood that prostate cancer is the reason you die after the age of 80 is statistically unlikely. Okay, so the question becomes, do you want to look for a cancer that is unlikely to cause you harm, or will you be looking for a cancer that you may potentially start treatment for that's not going to prolong your life? And it may actually decrease the quality of your life, because now you're getting chemotherapy, radiation therapy, surgery, all these kind of things. So statistically, if you make it to the age of 80 and you have no prostate cancer, it is unlikely that prostate cancer would be the reason you pass away, just because it's such a slow growing cancer, slow to metastasize. It takes many, many years to get to the point of badness. And so if you don't have it by the age of 80, it's not going to be the thing that kills you. And so we just stop looking for it. So.
And again, those are things that we don't normally or necessarily talk about openly, or at the barbecues or in the barbershop. Those are things that we don't normally talk about, but that is information that guys need to have, because, again, I can feel great. I can go out here and run 4 miles a day. I can go lift 5 days a week and not know that that is an issue with that part of my body, right? And then not understanding that those are easy checks to have, right? Like you said, there's no more the doctor coming in and pulling that glove, flap, and you cringing because you know what's about to come. There's no more of that, right?
You see the size of that finger, you be like, whoa, buddy.
No more of that, right? There's easier ways to get this done. Exactly. And there's easier ways that we need to get this done, and it's happened with the advancement of medicine and things like that. And again, ladies that are in the chat that are watching, we want to thank you guys as well for listening. And if you have your uncles, your dads, men that are close to you, this is for them. This is for you to make sure they go. Go get that. Again, we're at the middle of the year, just about at the middle of the calendar year standpoint. And we're not neglecting you women, you ladies in this chat, on this talk, but this month is considered Men's Health Month. I know you guys might not have known that, but here we are at the end of the month, me giving the information to you, Dr. Fred giving you the information to you, my Phi Theta Kappa brother, giving y'all that information. We're part of the same, educational fraternity, no doubt. Like we stayed in the GPAs of 4.0 and better. Me and Dr. Fred, he just chose to go be a doctor. I chose to be a coach, but that's a whole nother conversation. But Doc, as we get to the end of it, man, the one thing that haunts us the most as men in our community, and I'm not sure, and I need to have this conversation with Blue as well, but in our community, the one thing that haunts us the most, and I don't know if it's even escapable, because a lot of times it's hereditary, BP. How do we handle, how do we get to that early? How do we prevent that? How do we control that? Because I shouldn't say prevent that, but how do we control that? And then a lot of guys, younger guys, younger than us have it and don't know they have it, and then this is an adult show. Might be a few kids listening, whatever, but a lot of guys don't want to pay attention to it because it's notorious with messing with our
sex drive.
Okay, I was waiting on you to figure out how to say it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say the correct way from the doctor standpoint, and not from the corner standpoint. So they tend to ignore it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want that messing with that. I don't need that mentally, right?
Yeah, definitely. So
how do we talk
one of the
about
questions in the chat? I'm gonna hit hers right quick. She Mr. Nika Thomas.
Yeah, Doc, I got to pay you now because I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm going to come back to it later. But go ahead. Answer the chat, Doc.
What are some reasons reasons for men to get a mammogram and get checked for breast cancer? So statistically, breast cancer in a man is very unlikely, but it does happen. And so if you feel a lump or a bump in the breast as a male, you definitely bring it up to your physician. More than likely, you won't get a mammogram. Because the average man pec tissue is fairly dense and muscle, and so they'll likely do an ultrasound or an MRI, and then they'll do what's called an FNA, so a fine needle aspiration of that area to see what that mass lump bump is. It's easier, it's quicker, it's no radiation for an ultrasound, and so you get an answer pretty quick, and you can move on. They'll, obviously check for lymph nodes and the armpits and all that kind of stuff too. So that's to answer that question. The other one is powders used during weightlifting. That's not my answer. I'm not sure. I do know there are some issues with talc powder from a woman's standpoint, but that's very isolated information, and I'm not good on the literature on that, so I'm not going to speak on it and give out bad information. But you definitely should do the research and know what you're using and the possible long-term effects of it. If something that you're going to be using every single day, if something that you use every once in a while, but if it's something that you use every single day, you should definitely be doing some research on how it affects your body and such. But blood pressure, man, this is one of the things I love to talk about. Mainly because, Lord help me, it brings patients to the emergency room that don't really need to be there. But it's an important topic because it is very important. It affects lives dramatically. So blood pressure, what is a high blood pressure? So you have two numbers, systolic and diastolic. Systolic S is the top number, okay? Diastolic D is the bottom number. Now D, think about downward, that's the bottom number. S, sky, top number. That top number, you never really want to see that number over 140. Okay, so that means that when that heart squeezes at its tightest squeeze, its biggest pump, that number generates a pressure, millimeters over mercury, of 140 or below. That's what you want, okay? That's ideal. That bottom number, you don't want to be over 90, okay? When those numbers start creeping to above those numbers, what happens is that your organs are the ones that take the damage, okay? When the pressure in the system becomes too high, then the organs have to start remodeling. They say that the brain likes a pressure of less than 140. So if your blood pressure is consistently, so let's go backwards. Your blood pressure will sometimes be a little high based on what you're doing. You drink a caffeinated beverage. You drink a 5-hour energy shot. You go run some laps around the gym. There are going to be times where the pressure is slightly higher than 140. That's okay.
So let me ask you this, Doc, not to stop your flow, but I see a lot of guys get into the gas station pills, right? The Rhino, the Tsunami, the Samurai, right? The Red Bulls, the C4s, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The pills, first of all, that's not a good idea, right?
So the pills, if you know what's in it, it's one thing. If you don't know what's in it, that's another. So the pills are actually vasodilators. They're not actually vasoconstrictors. So technically, they work through a mechanism that actually makes the vessels dilate, get bigger, which makes pressures go down, which is the reason why whenever someone is prescribed things like Viagra, Cialis, things like that, you have to ask them, do you take nitrates? So do you take things like isosorbide? Do you take things like nitroglycerin for chest pain? Because what'll happen is the combination of Viagra plus you start getting a little chest pain, and then you take a nitro pill with it, it will make your blood pressure drop so low that it'll make you go unconscious. So knowing what's in the medication is more important than anything. Now there are some medications, like one medication is called Yohimbe. So Yohimbe does promote sexual health, but Yohimbe does it in a different mechanism. So it actually will cause your blood pressure to go up to make you have a stronger sexual, performance, desires, things like that. So knowing what you're taking and what's in it is more important than anything. And most of the time, what you see in a gas station, you don't know what's in it. So I would,
I was about
I would
to
say,
say, Doc.
don't do it.
I was about to say, Doc, I'm gonna speak to 98% of my people that I know that have taken those those pills at the gas station, have no clue what's in them. They go off the
No clue.
packaging and the
No
yeah,
clue.
yeah, yeah. They don't
Somebody
even see the
told me.
back of it where it says, hey, hey, my Uncle Jimmy told me. Well, Uncle Jimmy didn't tell you this hadn't been FDA approved at all. He didn't tell you
Yep,
that. And
that's an issue.
I can remember distinctly one time driving from Kansas to Florida when I was coaching out there and taking I think it was called a Bumblebee, and I see it every now and then in gas stations, and every time I see it, I just want to take the whole rack and throw it down. You take that, and it's supposed to be better than the no dose and all that. And so Kansas, where I was, to Tampa was like 22 hours, right, Doc? And I'm trying to do this straight up, right? So I take it. I'm in Atlanta when I take it. So Atlanta to Tampa is only like 5.5, maybe 6 hours, right? I just need to finish this last leg. I've drunk enough coffee. I've had enough espresso. I just need to finish this last leg, get to the house, handle what's going on. And I took that pill, Doc. I took both of them. The Bumblebee or whatever is black and yellow, and it's got 2 stripes on it. I think it's called a Bumblebee. And I got there that morning, and I'm like, yo, okay, this is good. I wasn't swerving. I was wide awake. I'm having car karaoke and the whole 9. Doc, I promise you, the next 2 days, I couldn't go to sleep. And I was dog tired, but I couldn't go to sleep. I don't even know what was in them pills, but every time I see them now, I just want to take the whole rack and throw them on the floor. But it's like, if I do that, they're going to call the cops. I'm going to jail. But when you talk about that, Doc, to get back on your flow, man, with the blood pressure, and I've learned this through time as well. There are medicines that they can prescribe that will not mess with that part of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to find out what works and what doesn't work. So there's a process. You got to go through it.
Yeah, that's why it's very important, to have that conversation with your physician. What other medications do you take? What medical conditions do you have?
So and being truthful, right?
Being very truthful about so that he can make the most informed decision as to what is the best medication to try first to see if this gives you some improvement with the least amount of possible side effects based on what you're already taking.
So, with that deal, and you went into it, for some of my heavier set relatives, my heavier set homeboys, as I tell them, as they try to tell me, I don't have BP problems, dude. You younger than me. You 5'11", and you are 315. You probably do have that issue. You need to go get that checked out. I went to Walmart and my blood pressure was good. What is your thought on that as a doctor, going to the machine that you see all kind of little kids playing on, checking blood pressure, making sure that is an accurate reading?
For accuracy, I would say it's likely okay. Is it what I would use as my defense in this discussion? Absolutely not. That blood pressure needs to be checked on an appropriate size blood pressure cuff, which most of the time you're not gonna. It's one size fit all cuff that's gonna be in that kind of facility. You need to have been sitting down for about 5 minutes, not doing anything else.
Oh,
Legs uncrossed. Not be walking around the Walmart with a C4 in your hand, jumping on the machine to take your blood pressure. Um, so there's a lot of things that go into it as to what is considered the most appropriate way. So I would say, is that machine going to be accurate? For the average person, I would say it's probably not a bad thing. For someone who is 350, 400 pounds, a little bit on the oversized weight, I would say it's unlikely going to give you the most accurate reading because the cuff is not going to be your size, made for you as a person. So I would say go to Walmart, go to Amazon, go to CVS, get you a blood pressure cuff. They're not very expensive. If you're a bigger guy, measure your arms in centimeters because most of them are sold by centimeters. Measure your arm. If you do it in inches, then you just do the multiplication and convert it. I think it's 2.4 or 2.6 centimeters per inch.
yeah,
So just do the
2.6.
calculation. Huh?
2.6.
Yeah, just do the calculation and convert it. But get you a blood pressure cuff at home so that you know what your blood pressure looks like, not just that one time walking through the Walgreens or the Walmart or wherever that is.
I don't know if it's 2.6 or not. I'm just, talking Phi Beta Kappa talk, I'm talking about, so, I don't know if it's that or not, but, I just thought I had that in there. But as we talking about it, and it's a serious deal, and I know I'm wrapping up.
Between it, it's 2.54, so 2.6-ish.
We was close. Yeah, close enough. You figure it out as you go. Doc, so as we wrap up, man, and I know I can't keep you because you're a doctor and you make a lot of money on your off time, telehealth and all that. As we're talking about this, because this is a big deal. Cholesterol, big deal in our community because nobody really talks about cholesterol in our community. Blood pressure, we know it's there, but nobody really talks about it. Doc, how do we get over the stigmatism of talking about it, right? How do we start this conversation? Because you can go to any barbershop between here to Costa Rica, and you can start the conversation of who's the GOAT, LeBron or freaking Michael, excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
But we will never talk health issues in those deals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do we get past the stigmatism of talking about the health part of it? Because to me, Randy Moss is the GOAT when we talk receivers. And you'll probably fire back and say Jerry Rice. But then when we start talking about
I'm gonna say Michael Irvin. Come on now. I'm a Cowboys fan.
You do realize he's not coming back. Roger Staubach is not coming back. Tony Dorsett would never put another down, right? You do understand that, right? Emmitt Smith would never.
Those jerseys will live on in our stadium forever. Forever.
We about to take this somewhere else. But let's take
I would say that the conversations happen and are going to happen with mechanisms just like you have right now. Having these type of shows, these type of podcasts where you cut away from the typical things that people will hear and bring these topics up and throw them right in the face of people that need to hear it. Your clientele, your listening audience are the people that we need to hear this information. They hear it and then they go and tell somebody, hey, did you hear about that podcast where they were talking about, healthy hearts and healthy this and healthy that? No, I didn't hear it. You need to listen to it. Let me send you a link. That's the way we make this conversation more comfortable, by literally putting it in their face so that they can actually hear it, see it, smell it, believe it, and then start talking about it amongst each other. That's how we get this conversation on and popping.
So with that being said, as we start to wrap it up, Doc, what are some of the things that we can do because women have this whole women of color have this whole problem with BP as well.
Mm-hmm.
As far as it's hereditary for us, right?
Correct.
But what are some of the things, just kind of like off the top of your head, that you have that we can do to help with BP and cholesterol? So I'm going to add, before you start, cholesterol. The one thing I learned in medical school before I left was that if you eat popcorn, if you eat popcorn, that is why you laughing, man. But anyway, but eating popcorn helps with cholesterol, right? Understanding that
I would say it
the
depends on if that's the popcorn with triple double butter and double
no
thick
no no
salt.
none of that, right? None of that, right? None of that, none of that, none of that. Especially not kettle corn. And if you eat kettle corn, I don't know how I feel about you anyway. So I'm not sure if I'm even talking to you if you prefer kettle corn, but that's a whole nother show. But eating popcorn, understanding that the substitute not salt is probably worse for you than salt. What are some of the things that we can do to kind of help combat versus high cholesterol, controlling blood pressure? Just off the dome, what are some of the things that you would suggest someone do to try to kind of put those things under control?
So the biggest thing is cholesterol is kind of one of those tough ones because a lot of times people that have like ridiculously high cholesterols
And don't even
there's a genetic component to it. You meet someone who has had pancreatitis and they didn't realize why. You meet someone who's had multiple family members at very young ages with heart attacks. You delve a little bit deep and you realize that their triglycerides are through the roof, their cholesterol is through the roof, and it has nothing to do with what they're eating. It's just genetically their body produces an excessive amount of cholesterol based on what they're eating
okay.
and what they do. So that's a big one.
Okay.
The biggest things you can do as a person who just what can I do just naturally, decreasing the amount of fatty acids that you consume. So decrease the number of steaks, eating more fish, things that have the medium chain like triglycerides. I'm sorry, medium chain fatty acids. Because your body can break through those a lot easier than the long chain fatty acids that you find in things like pork and things like beef and steak and stuff. Decreasing your salt intake. Say it again.
I got to cut out steaks.
I mean, not cut them out, but you should definitely, in moderation, like we say about alcohol, in moderation. But you get to chicken, get to the fish, you'll improve. You'll improve
Okay.
your cholesterol leaps and bounds just off that. Decreasing your alcohol intake helps tremendously with triglyceride and exactly. Decreasing your those intakes help dramatically. Supplementing I don't know if you take vitamins or not, but if you take things like fish krill oil or take things like fish oil, those things will help to decrease your cholesterol and
Really?
triglycerides. And if you're seeing a primary care doctor, getting that number checked so you can actually just see where you are. If you're a little bit elevated, then getting on the medication. It's not terrible to take a pill that's gonna decrease the amount of cholesterol that's attached to the arteries inside your body. Those cholesterol plaques eventually break off, and they are what cause strokes. That are what cause heart attacks. It's what's infarcts into the kidneys, what's called acute renal failure. These things can destroy the organs of your body, and we can easily work to reduce the amount of cholesterol in our circulating blood system by just taking a pill, a small pill, that you just take once a day. It's not a 2 times, 3 times a day medication. It's once a day. And it has almost no side effects, So, a pill that you can take once a day with almost no side effects that will make you live longer, decrease your risk of strokes, decrease your risk of heart attacks, decrease your risk of all these different bad things. It's a really smart thing to do. I mean, it's just smart to do. It just makes sense, right?
Fish oil.
Fish oil, just regular. I tell people too, the secret to taking fish oil. A lot of people hate fish oil because if you take it right out of the packaging, it your stomach digests the wrapper that it's in essentially, and it can cause you to belch, and it has a very foul smell, and people don't like that. What you can do is you can freeze them. Okay. If you freeze them, then when they're inside the stomach, where the acid portion of the stomach, the big sac portion, they'll still be frozen. And by the time they start to defrost, they'll be in the small intestine and you won't get that belching. And so you can swallow it frozen, like a little frozen little tablet, and then boom, you're done. And I've had multiple patients tell me about how that is literally, they went from I couldn't tolerate it, I can't take it, I'm never taking this again, to this ain't that bad. And it works.
You only learn here, baby. You only get that information here. Freeze.
Definitely.
Freeze. And fish oil helps with your sight as well, right, Doc?
Supposedly. I can't tell you the literature that goes along with it, so I don't speak on anything where I can't quote the literature, but it's supposed to help that as well. Healthy weight, triglycerides, bad cholesterol, all that stuff.
Hey, we got close to 200 people in here. I can't see the chat, but Doc can. I don't know how that works, but he can see it. As we wrap up, man, if you have any questions for Doc, here's your 2-minute window to ask him before we let him out of here. On that tip, if you have any questions, guys, if you have any questions, ladies, for the guys in your life, here's your chance to ask Doc right now. We're gonna have a 2-minute window. Doc, it's 6:07.
Okay. I got time. I'm here.
We're gonna say by 6:10 because it just turned 6:08. By 6:10, if you don't have any questions, man, we're gonna let you get out of here. But my first question, for what we just talked about, how important is the exercise portion of it to getting those numbers under control?
Oh man, uber important. I tell folks all the time when you exercise, so a lot of folks don't understand how your body utilizes energy. All right, so just the bare bones of it. You have 4 macromolecules. So when your muscles want to use something as fuel, you have 4 macromolecules that it can use. And this is the only way it can feed itself. You have fats, and fats come in long, medium, and extra long and short chain fatty acids. Okay, you have alcohol, which is impressive. Alcohol has calories. So the 4 macromolecules are all calorie based. Alcohol, you have protein, so your body can use protein, and then you have carbohydrates. Okay, those are the only 4 sources of fuel for your body. The more you do towards one, the other ones will lack. Okay, so this is how it works. When people want to lose weight, they do what's called carb cutting. Okay, the reason they do carb cutting is because carbohydrates, medically or physiologically or scientifically, are the second easiest for your body to metabolize. So it can take that really weak bond for carbohydrates, ain't nothing but a bunch of C's and O's, carbons and oxygens, and it can break those bonds really easily to create fuel, right? It's a little bit harder to do it at the protein. It can be done. And it's real hard to do it to long chain fatty acids. They are the hardest to break down. And so that's why we tell you decrease your sugar intake, because the more sugar you eat, you're just going to store the fat, because your body doesn't want to do the hard work to break down fat. Point blank. It don't want to do the hard work to break down protein. Point blank. If it is exposed to carbohydrates and alcohol and protein, it's going to pick the carbohydrates and alcohol to burn first. And it's going to store as fat everything else. Okay? It doesn't matter how strong you worked out in the gym this week. It don't matter. If you ingest enough alcohol to supply your body with all of the calories it needs for expenditure, everything else gets stored as fat. Everything else. It is the easiest thing to store. It is the hardest thing to break down. Okay? So that's why we're super, super big on decreasing the carb intake. Because if you decrease the carb intake, now your body says, let me go burn something else. Alcohol is going to be the next primary. If you drink alcohol, it's going to be a primary. So if you decrease your alcohol, you decrease your carb, you can lose weight, because now you'll actually start breaking down fats and proteins. and that's
Right.
huge.
So
Getting those fats and proteins to start being broken down is where it's all about. So that's why working out is so important, but not just working out and decreasing your carbohydrate intake and your alcohol intake. When you do that, your body is going to have to burn fats, is going to have to burn protein, and that's how you just get a healthier weight, a healthier inside.
right. So you took me back to the first 2 weeks of medical school when you talked about season O's, because I was sitting there, I was like, season O's, cash on delivery? What y'all talking about? And then,
Exactly.
but you know, drinking is good in moderation.
In moderation.
I'm not gonna let you say that, but I'm gonna say that drinking is good in moderation. So
Moderation.
my question, if there's no other questions before you look, my question to you is two parts. There's a myth that wine is good for you. Red wine, room temperature, is good for you from time to time. And then there's a myth in the cigar lounge that I frequent that cigar smoking is also good for you as a guy, maybe a gal, but it's just guys that's talking about it in moderation for certain elements within the body. Do you know anything about that?
Anything that I'm not that I can't quote the scripture or the medical literature on, I typically stay away from discussion of, because then it comes back to bite me. Because then I'm sitting somewhere and somebody says, "I saw you on a podcast and you said, let me show you."
If I bottle, I'll be good.
Oh man, they'll nothing more sacred than somebody being able to pull up on Doc and be like, "Let me tell you how you were wrong." So, I would say, red wine does have its benefits. It actually can have it does have a significant amount of sugar in it, right? And so we go back to carbohydrates. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, in moderation, it can be okay. Okay. It has sugar and it has alcohol. And so statistically, your body's going to work to burn that wine first. So if you eat plus wine and you exceed the amount of calories your body needs for that time, everything that you eat is going to be stored. So if you eat late at night and you drink wine and you eat foods that have a lot of sugar in them, then you're going to wind up storing a lot of sugars and fats in your body.
I'm with you.
Statistically, if you go that route, you're going to have some issues if it happens too often, right? If it doesn't happen very often, wine has oxidants in it. Those are good for antioxidants in it. Those are good. So it does have some positive properties. But in moderation, I would never tell a person not to do something that they enjoy, because what's fun in living life if you don't do anything that you don't actually like to do, right? I mean, I drink bourbon, I drink wine, I kind of do it all. I don't do it every single night, but I do delve. And so I think it's okay as long as you understand the risks, as long as you understand the benefits, and as long as you understand the repercussions of excessive amounts of either. I think it's an okay thing to do.
Good. Doc, again, you can see it. I can't. Are there any questions in there for you before we kind of wrap this up and let you
I don't
get?
see that. The only one I can see is the YouTube.
Right. I'm on the other. I don't see anything on.
Yeah.
On
so going back, let me just go back on the blood pressure one, because that's one of my favorite things to talk about. Is that
let's go.
Very often I will get patients that come into the emergency room and they'll say, I checked my blood pressure. My head was hurting, and so I checked my blood pressure. That's never the order that you should be doing this. If I take a hammer and I hit you in your shoulder, and then you go check your blood pressure, it's going to be a little elevated. Anything that induces pain
is going to shoot
cause your blood pressure to go up. So having a headache and then checking your blood pressure, that's not really how this works. If you don't check your blood pressure regularly, then don't check it when you get a headache. That's just not how medically this happens. Because if something really bad is going on inside your brain because of your blood pressure, you're not going to check your blood pressure.
Say that again.
If something really bad is going on inside of your brain, you're not going to be able to check the blood pressure. You're going to be gawked out, on the side of some table, laid out in the bed, somewhere that you can't do anything for yourself, because that's what happens when bad things happen in your brain. You don't get the chance to go check a blood pressure. So if you got a headache, what you do is take a Tylenol.
See what happens from there.
Take an Excedrin. If you didn't check your blood pressure yesterday, ain't no need to check your blood pressure the day you get a headache. Because I can almost guarantee you that if your blood pressure is 170 today, it was 170 yesterday. It didn't magically become 170 overnight. And that blood pressure is not the reason it's 170. Okay? Statistically, you are at a increased risk of badness if I was to try to lower your blood pressure to normal just because it's a little bit elevated. The reason is your brain has this thing called autoregulation, right?
Okay.
Which means that the brain wants a pressure of 90 to 140. That good window we discussed earlier, right? If
low
your
top
pressure,
low bottom number.
Low bottom, low top. We want both of them to be low. We don't want no high numbers. But statistically, it doesn't want that top to be more than 140. If that number starts to creep up, 140s, 150s, 160s, your brain has this ability to what's called auto-regulate. It will actually clamp down on the vessels, decreasing the amount of blood flow to the brain because it only wants so much pressure coming to the brain, right? If your brain is now auto-regulated your body's pressure of 170 down to a brain pressure of 130, and that's how you live every day, what do you think happens if I magically drop your blood pressure from 170 down to 120? Your brain's pressure is going to drop that same number of points. But auto-regulation doesn't happen as fast as medications happen. So if I drop that pressure super quick, now your brain isn't getting enough blood flow. What happens when your brain doesn't get enough blood flow? That's strokes. That's what passing out is. That's what feeling woozy is. I feel tired. Sometimes when people start blood pressure medication for the first time, that blood pressure medication made me feel bad. Well, yeah, because now your brain was used to this really high pressure system, and now it has to re-regulate itself to get back used to a normal pressure. And sometimes that takes time. It takes weeks sometimes. Oh, I take that medication, I just feel bad. Well, technically, you may feel bad, but your brain feels amazing. So keep taking the drugs. So keep taking the medication. Your brain loves this feeling. I promise you, it's clapping right now. It's clapping, saying, "Thank you, Jesus. I ain't got to work so hard to auto-regulate no more. My body is supposed to keep me at this pressure." And so I tell people all the time, high pressures are the devil. Your brain isn't made for a high pressure system. Your kidneys are not made for a high pressure system. They don't want to see nothing over 140 systolically. So when you live in the 180s and you live in the 190s for years, those organs have to kind of auto-regulate. They have to kind of rewire themselves to protect themselves against that high pressure system.
Right.
When they start to do that, it's unintended consequences. They're going to kaput. They're going to die. You're going to get kidney failure. Your pancreas can die. Your spleen can infarct. Your liver can go out. You'll have a stroke. These are the reasons that we push and push and push that we get blood pressure under control. Because if you don't, these are the consequences. These are the long-term consequences of high blood pressure. There's not a lot of, day-to-day consequences. So it's not hey, doc, I checked my blood pressure, it was 180. Well, it's 180. Go see your primary care doctor so they can get you on the medications to get it back to 140. And when you start feeling weird, keep taking the medication, because the feeling weird, that means the blood pressure medication is working. It's doing what it's supposed to do. If you feel exactly the same, it's probably not doing anything for you, because you should feel different. Whether you think that's good or bad, there should be a difference. When you bring that blood pressure from super high down to normal, you should feel different. Now, you may interpret that as feeling bad. It's not. It's just different. And in time, that different will become normal to you. You just got to stick with it. We have so many folks on dialysis that look like us, this brown skin, that are hooked up to machines 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, 3, 4 times a week, because their kidneys are no longer functioning. So that machine has to clean out all the bad stuff, all the excess of water, all the acid out of their blood, and put it back into their system. These folks are looking for kidney transplants. When you go and do a kidney transplant interview, they're going to ask you, why are your kidneys bad? Which they know that before you get there. And, there's a couple reasons that will kind of take you down the list. One is uncontrolled hypertension. Because if I give you another kidney, if I give you the kidney that someone has sacrificed their life to give you, how do I know that you're going to take care of that organ? If you're not taking care of your body now, why would I give you a life-saving organ that can go to someone else whose kidneys went out for a different reason, whose kidneys went out because of some type of medication they were on for one, they had chemotherapy and it killed their kidneys. Or they had kidney cancer and it killed their kidneys. Why not give that kidney to that person who values that organ? But if you are not compliant with your medications, not compliant with, not smoking, not drinking, you don't care about taking your medication, you don't care about following up with a doctor, your chances of getting these organs from people who have to sacrifice their lives to give them is much lower. And that's just, a real deal Holyfield kind of conversation. And it's a tough conversation to have with people. It's like, if you don't get your blood pressure under control, there's no point of going to an organ recovery or a transplant specialist. They're not going to give you the kidney. Your blood pressure is still 180 or something. You've proven that you're not going to be compliant. They're not going to give you that organ.
Right. Something ain't changed.
Yeah. Until you're able to change your everything, they're just not going to make that sacrifice on you. And so, it's a hard conversation to have with people who are living hooked up to a machine all the time. But it's a real conversation that has to be had. And I have the conversation with people all the time, literally all the time.
Man, that's big time.
Blood pressure and diabetes are the killer of Black people. And we have the ability to control it. One is the biggest step is identifying that you have the problem. So actually seeing a provider every 6 months, every year to say what my blood pressure look like, how's my hemoglobin A1C, what is my blood sugar looking like. Once you identify that you have a problem, getting the treatment and being consistent with taking the medications that do the treatment.
Man, you said a mouthful right there. Now I got one question before I let you out of here that came to me. See any on the YouTube deal, but the one that I got was, can you ask Doc with the differences from Viagra to Cialis while dealing with blood pressure, what is the conversation that needs to be had with the physician, I guess is what they're asking.
So Cialis and Viagra, they're fairly their mechanism is the same. So funny story, we didn't create
a little different from Viagra, right? Because I've heard stories. Cialis is a little different from Viagra because I've heard stories that some guys, the reaction from the Viagra reaction from Cialis is totally different. Like some guys say they can't take Viagra because it gives them massive headaches. Some guys say.
So funny story. So we didn't create Viagra for the purpose of sexual anything. So we were actually researching. It's a PDE5 inhibitor and phosphodiesterase inhibitor. And so we actually invented that by mistake. We were actually trying to come up with a medication for pulmonary hypertension. We needed something that vasodilates the vessels in the lungs. And so we were looking for a medication that vasodilated vessels in the lungs. Just so happened, the vasodilatation of vessels in the lungs also vasodilates the vessels in the penis. And so when they started giving the medication out to the males, one of the side effects that multiple people noted was that I would get erections when I wasn't trying to. And they were like, well, damn, we done came up with a new medication without even trying. So Cialis and Viagra both have the same mechanism of action. And there used to be another one called tadalafil a long time ago, which we don't really see anymore. But they have the same mechanism. They're phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors. And so they work Medically, in the body, they're identical. So what's different is that Cialis has a much longer half-life. And so Viagra has a half-life of a maximum of 4 hours. Cialis's half-life is 24 hours. And so because of that, instead of getting that really quick peak of medication and then this drop off, whereas Cialis gives you this kind of slow increase and then it kind of just stays there over time and then drops off. Some people will notice that with Viagra, they will get headaches within hours of using it, which are usually relieved with just taking like ibuprofen. I mean, if you take ibuprofen and Viagra together, you won't even get the headache at all. And that's just a part of the vasodilatation effects of Viagra, because that's how migraines happen. So one of our biggest medications for migraine is called Ubrelvy, and how it works is that it helps with the vasodilatation and inflammatory effects of vessels in the brain. And so that's what Viagra does, because it peaks so high and then comes down so fast. You get more widespread vasodilatation in the body, and so that's why you get that issue with headaches. But the actual mechanism of how it works in your body, they're identical. They work the same way.
Okay, so G, you got that right. Just take Tylenol or Advil with that, and then that
You don't have no problem. Easy.
Won't have no problem. Okay, so that works for that. Yeah, I just use this first initial. That's my guy.
Yeah, I get people all the time. That's for men's health. When I tell people I do men's health, one of the first things they say, you do Viagra. I mean, like, prescribe Viagra. And I'm like, I mean, if you feel that that's what you need, then sure, we can prescribe.
But what is that conversation? Since I got you and you flowing, what is that conversation? Because a lot of guys, from what I understand, the guys that I know, that's a tough conversation, right?
Man, it's not for my patients.
Well, I mean, the guys that I know to go in and see Dr. Kency and be like, hey, Doc FK, man, look, I'm having issues that Hennessy and Crown can't solve. Like, I mean, what is that conversation like, Doc? You know what I mean? How do you have that?
So a lot of times, most of my patients are referred to me from other patients. And so the conversation is quite easy because they know why they're coming to me. Like when they send me a message to my email or send me a request or anything, they're coming with me directly with the question like, hey, I want to see if I can try this Viagra or this Cialis and see if it works for me. This kind of, and I start hitting with the question, tell me what is your issue?
So you say that. So when you say that, what is the normal comeback that you get?
For what are your issues?
Yeah, when you say, okay, tell me what's your issue, like.
So you're going to have different answers. So you're going to have some with, I'm having issues with maintaining erections. I'm having issues with getting an erection. I'm having issues with morning. I don't get morning erections anymore, because that tells me what kind of impotence you're having. Because some of them, Cialis and Viagra won't fix, regardless of how much I try.
So
it's not going to fix the problem.
So there's issues that they can't handle.
Yeah. So there's issues that the medication just won't fix for you. I have patients that have had long-standing diabetes, and so just like uncontrolled diabetes affects the kidneys and the liver and the brain, it can affect your penis, because if those nerves get glycosylated and they no longer are functioning appropriately, then you don't have the ability to achieve erections. Those vessels get messed up, those nerves get damaged because of hypertension and because of diabetes, and now you have a lot of guys that have impotence. That's why we have things like penis pumps. We have things like injections of medication directly into the penis. I mean, we have a lot of different mechanisms for fixing impotence that are not just medications by mouth, because the mechanism that's causing your sexual non-performance are different. The majority of my patients just so happen they're younger people. So by younger, I mean like between the ages of 35 to 55. And so they're not to the point where medications won't help them. They're usually, I can't achieve a full erection. So like I can become aroused, I get aroused, I can have intercourse, but the fullness isn't what it used to be. And those are the patients who benefit the most from Cialis and Viagra because they're able to achieve an erection. That is important. They get
Okay.
morning erections. That's also important. And that their biggest thing is maintaining the fullness. And that's what Viagra Cialis does. It vasodilatates those vessels of the penis and brings in just more blood to achieve a stiffer, more erect penis. Yeah, what you got?
So this question is directly from me. I've heard you mention this like 3 times. Why is the answer to do you still get morning erections so important? Help me understand that part.
So it's about the function. So you want to know if the function is intact. So morning erections are the easiest way to discuss function. So if you don't get morning erections anymore and you're trying to use Viagra Cialis, it's a good chance they're not going to work.
Okay.
Because now there's an issue with the actual organ and its function. And that doesn't typically get fixed with Viagra Cialis. Sometimes sometimes it's a low testosterone issue. For if you just do testosterone replacements, you may be able to re-achieve function that way. But it just tells me that there's another issue that Viagra Cialis is not going to fix. That if you can just fix the origin of the problem, you may not ever need Viagra Cialis. Like I have patients who, I ask them, do you get morning erection? They're like, no, I haven't had one in, 4 or 5 months. Well, let's check your testosterone levels. And their testosterone levels are super, super low. You just put them on testosterone replacement and they don't need Viagra because their problem wasn't Viagra. I mean, it wasn't the inability to achieve erections. It was a chemical issue. And so you fix their testosterone level, and now they're able to have that. Now they are able to have better sex than they had when they were, in college. I mean, so you'd be surprised at what the problem is. But if you talk to your doctor, you're more, and that's one of the issues that comes with getting on some of these websites that sell these different compounded medications online or in the grocery stores or the gas stations that have these medications, the Rhino whatever, and the honey gels and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
They can't diagnose the etiology of your problem. And if that etiology isn't fixed soon, sometimes it becomes a permanent problem. So if your testicles stop producing testosterone for too long, you may not ever be able to recover that ability to produce testosterone. And so the earlier you can get that diagnosed and fixed and managed on the right medication regimen, the better.
Ooh, okay. It's nothing like going to talk to Dr. FK instead of the guy across the counter saying that'll be $329. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a better deal to go see Doc. So, Doc, for me, let me ask you this, and I know I keep saying we're gonna let you go. You said the testosterone thing, which is what kind of comes with the Healthy You test that my insurance asks that you get once a year, blah blah blah. They take that as part of your blood work and things like that. There's a shot, there's a cream, there's a pill for all 3 of those. If I'm sitting there across from Dr. FK, which one are you recommending? If I need testosterone, which one are you recommending? Because I've heard different things about the shot. The shot puts weight on you. I've heard different things about the cream. The cream will break you out. I've heard different things about the pill. The pill, it's almost like load management. Like you got to take so many before it actually kicks in the system. What are those myths with all 3 of those?
So the most effective is a shot, right? Anything that reduces compliance or reduces the need to encourage compliance is going to be your most effective medication every time. So a medication that you take once a day is going to be likely to work better than one you take 3 times a day. And the reason is because you're going to be more compliant with a once a day medication. You're going to take that once a day medication more times than not than trying to do 3 times a day, right? So if I can tell you that you get an option to take a pill a day, rub on a lotion a day, or get a shot every month, you're going to be more compliant with the once a month shot, right?
I ain't got to worry.
Exactly. So statistically, you're going to always do better with whatever you have to take the least often, right? And so the shot is going to be your most effective one, because it's going to be your one that you're going to be most compliant with every time. The other one, if you live alone and you don't have kids in your house, I'm a huge proponent of the lotions. The chance of having a breakout is not as high because most of them are fairly inert. So the only active ingredient is the testosterone and then the medication that helps it with absorption into the skin. But the issue becomes if you have kids in the house and they use the same towels that you use, if they handle your clothes, if they handle your brush, if they handle things that you touch at your sink, then there's a transference thing. Like you're supposed to wash your hands really good after you use a testosterone lotion, but it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes you're rushing, you're running, you squirt a little, the dime size thing into your hand, you lather it up, you rub it on your shoulders, and you put your shirt on, and you dip out the house, and you don't wash your hands. And so now you touch, something in the sink, you touch something in the something in the refrigerator, and now you have this transference of this testosterone lotion. And we've had cases where children are growing hair, at the age of 9 and 7. And it's because, well, dad uses testosterone cream and then they hug them, they do this, they do that. And that transference was enough to bump their testosterone levels up high enough to start having prepubescent adolescence. And so that becomes the issue with that. Not that it's impossible to use in homes with children, but that's one of the things that I stress with my patients is that if you have a kid in your house, you have to be very careful to keep this out of the reach of them and make sure that you're cleaning your hands thoroughly. Another thing that has that same thing, people have male pattern baldness, and they use modafinil. I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying that right, but finasteride and modafinil, 2 medications that are used for male pattern baldness. They make it into a cream now that people absolutely love. You just do a squirt in your hand, you massage it into your hair in the morning time, you brush it, you keep it moving. And it protects your from losing hair from male pattern baldness. But what is the issue with that? Well, finasteride decreases DHT, ditestosterone, DHT, dihydrotestosterone. And so it's blocking testosterone, right? And that's how it's making your hair come back. It can also have some sexual side effects too. Less in the lotion, more in the peel. That's why the lotion has become more light, because they don't get the same sexual side effects, but they get the hair improvement, right? And so they like that. The side effects is that it's a lotion. It's on your hands. When you use your brush at home, if you have other boys in your home who are prepubescent, but they haven't gone through puberty yet, then you can affect their testosterone binding, their testosterone production, if they were to use the same brush that you use. So you have to be very careful about using these products that have hormonal blocking or stimulating abilities, and having kids in the home that can too use those same products. So I tell people to be very careful about the lotions. The pills, I would say nobody takes them. They have horrible side effects. They don't work as well. And when the shots are like, stick, shoot, out, come back in 30 days, nobody's gonna take the pill a day. Like, it just ain't gonna happen. You can't get nobody to take a pill a day. You just can't. It ain't gonna happen.
I'm with that. And Doc, I'm gonna say this on the record, off the record. If it's a choice between my hair and my S drive, I'm probably going with my S drive. But to each his own.
Ain't no problem. Hey, they make some cool hats, man. Hey, ain't no problem. Hey, the hair got to go. Got to go.
To each his own, Doc. To each his own, man. To each his own. Hey, man, I appreciate you. I'm gonna let you go. We're approaching an hour and 45 minutes. Me and you, we're collabing. We're having an event coming up in July, whenever I get the information to you. We want to make sure that we get, everybody's full support on that. But I want to give you the floor right now, in case people are just tuning in. Again, we have over 250, close to 300 people between all the platforms, not to mention who's going to come back and listen to this later. For you to kind of talk about your practice, where you are, what you do, how they can find you if they have any questions about anything that was talked about here. But before I ask you, who's your pro team?
Dallas Cowboys. Ain't no question.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Let me guess. And I've been to your house several times, ain't no doubt. But let me guess. This is y'all year.
You know it. It's our year, baby. Hey, this is us. Hey, Pickens, come on down. We get that. Hey, go on, get that MVP trophy ready. We about to do
this y'all year. Super Bowl.
I'm going to the preseason game. That's how excited I am.
Yeah, this y'all year, no doubt. But Doc, let's come on down out of La La Land and Cloud 9, man. Tell the people if they need to find you, if they have any other questions about anything we talked about today, if they have any questions about health, how to find health insurance, who to deal with, how do they get in touch with you for those conversations? And please, please, please understand, Doc don't have a lot of time for, man, I got a hangnail, Doc. How do I clip it or pull it? So serious questions, serious inquiries, whatever you say it, however you say it.
Inquiries. Yeah, definitely. So email address, I got two of them, just straight up my name, fredkency@gmail.com, or you can do KencyMedicalServices@gmail.com. Either one of them is totally fine. My biggest love is teaching people about medical cannabis. So natural ways of, fixing or helping with chronic pain, nausea, vomiting, PTSD, things that I've seen a lot of our service members deal with. And so I have a clinic called Kency Medical Services where we do medical marijuana certifications. We also do other things. We also do CPR training. I contract with some paramedics that do CPR training. If you look at our website now, our social media sites, you'll see a lot of things about a class we just taught. We had a grant to teach 200 kids CPR, which we did last week, taught 200 kids CPR. It was an amazing experience. Seeing all the kids learn, be excited about learning CPR, getting to actually put hands on mannequins, learning the techniques, and potentially, being the reason that somebody's mom, grandma, cousin walks away from a major cardiac event on the other side. So that's been a huge draw with us. We also do things like these healthy talks. Come out to churches, come out to locations of, people call me to come all kind of places. And if my schedule is open and available, I come out and I have these discussions about men's health, prostate health. My wife actually talks about breast cancer and some other topics that we are very passionate about and that we believe are very important to our people in our community. And so, I never believed or never thought about these kind of things in my life when I was growing up. I was a basic kid from West Jackson that just wanted to be a doctor since I was, knee high on a hilltop. But God put me in this place to teach, to educate, to motivate, and I'm going to do his work until he says he's done with me.
Did you look at? Did you used to watch Doogie Howser?
Oh yeah, big time. The out there in the Midwest. What city was he in? Like Iowa or something, somewhere where it snowed a lot. Yeah,
Trapper John, Madlock, Madlock, Trapper John.
Man, trauma life in the ER. If it had anything to do with paramedics, medicine, cutting people, I watched all that stuff.
That was your deal.
That was my deal right there.
There was one maybe a year ago. That lady with the same last name as me, she lived and died by it was EMT New Orleans. And you want to talk about crazy stuff. That was your type stuff?
Oh yeah, all that. All day, every day.
I don't know how y'all heard. Y'all are special people. I definitely want to give an applause to because it would be the patient, me, the people trying to get me off the floor, trying to get what I done put out off the floor, I don't know how y'all do it. I can barely take a shot. You know, I got to turn my head. Like, wait, don't do it. Wait, let me turn my head. Let me turn my head first, and then you know. So I respect y'all in every way. Again, we had close to 300 people here tonight. Not a lot, but still a lot. Great information for the fellas. Great information for the ladies connected to the fellas. And we're gonna have to get your wife on with that lady that has the same last name as me as well, so we can talk about health as well. And you know, we want to make sure that we educate, elevate, all that stuff. You know, this channel was dedicated to HBCU football, but I wanted to make sure that I gave something back on top of that, which was the health element, because this is something that we really don't talk about enough in our community. How many games have you been to, Doc, where you look up and there's a commotion in the stands because somebody's fell out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to talk about, you know, hydration. We want to talk about all those things and kind of go from there. You know, nobody talks about that, but that's very important. You know, if you're gonna have this, you know, you better dang well have this. You know, when we're talking about that, and those are things that I think within the HBCU community that we don't talk about enough, if that makes sense. So, you know, I'm tapping into you. I'm tapping into Dr. Parker. We had her on where she talked about foot care, making sure that, you know, people understand the proper way to take care of your feet. I'm looking for a dentist, as I know that, you know, dental is connected to, you know, your everyday health. You know what I mean? You can find out a lot.
I got you 3 or 4 of them. You just let me know when you need it.
Definitely. Oh, there you heard it, chat. He told me to tap in and he'll hook us up. Because I learned not too long ago that your dental health can tell you a lot about what's going on under the hood, right? Didn't know that, never knew that, and then once I got that information, it was like, wow, okay, makes sense. But if I didn't know that, not that I'm the smartest person in the world, but if I didn't know that, I wonder how many people that I know from where I'm from that didn't know that, right? So that's all we're trying to do, man, is inform and light. We're trying to give you something in the off season to help you as the season comes. If you're a Dallas Cowboy, there's nothing we can do for you because y'all are just going to be forever delusional, and that's just what it is. You know, college football, we know we all about, you know, the Braves, the Tomahawks. We know how that goes. But if there's nothing else for Doc, man, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you again for coming back. You got to come back again, and then you've got to put us with a dentist and so on and so forth. As we continue this thing, this drive at 5 every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central, where we're going to educate, elevate, and hopefully get some of you Cowboy fans to understand that has left. Free agency is open. There's plenty of bandwagons for y'all to jump on outside of that thing where y'all owner says 8-8, we're great. You know, so we don't want that anymore. We don't want that for y'all.
I know me. It's gonna be the year. It would be the year that I jump off. I'm just gonna win. I'll take all my shirts down, get rid of all my jerseys, and then boom, they go to Super Bowl, and I'm like, look at see.
Nah,
that's why I'm just gonna ride it out. We're just gonna ride it out.
I don't think you have to worry about that because as long as, you know, that guy's in control of y'all, it's okay, man. Hey, Nate, we're great. And as long as y'all reporting about me pulling up a helicopter in the middle of the practice, that's all we want. You know, never mind practice. I need y'all to talk about came in a helicopter to shut down practice. You know, that's the storyline. That's what we want. But
he's an owner that cares about his team.
Man, you can't even make that make sense.
Everybody's business.
Hey, man, again.
Have me on, and always, as always, if you ever need me, I'm always available. just hit me up. And like I said, I'm gonna get you some of those dentists and pharmacists and podiatrists and whatever health experts you feel like you need to push
That's
this
right.
information so that we make our community stronger, healthier, and last a little bit longer.
Let's rock, baby. Let's rock. And then if you stay on, man, I got some other stuff. Oh, you know what? Don't worry about it. I just call you back to make sure that we're not on what we're talking about. You know, we don't want to be hot mic, you know, that kind of deal. So I hit you right back. But again, man, this has been the Drive at 5. And as we always say at the end of this thing, you know, everything's going crazy, hectic around you. Keep it all on the table, and it'll get better. See you guys next Wednesday.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mike Pound.